Welcome back to the National Pastime. I was having a moment of silence. We're recording this on Thanksgiving.
Special Thanksgiving episode.
United States Thanksgiving, lower 48's Thanksgiving, November, what is today? 23rd, yeah.
Sounds
yeah,
right.
so right before I leave for Arabia and India and Nepal and all that, so we're just going to crank out a couple episodes. But I was having a moment of silence because it's not a official holiday gathering until I have destroyed something. So I would have been here earlier, but I was leaving with someone else's giant glass tray of sweet potatoes, and I put it on this vehicle to open the door, like the hood of the vehicle, to open the door, so I could then put it into the car or truck. And it just slid right off and hit the ground and exploded into like a street-wide glass shrapnel bomb and pieces of sweet potatoes everywhere. So I just had to stand there for a moment and like come to terms with what I'd just done. Because first of all, the dish wasn't mine, and so now I have to go get like a new one. And then secondly, like this is a really nice neighborhood. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I could just drive away. I could just leave this all behind. But it was right in front of this guy's house, so they would everyone knew I was leaving with this thing, so they would walk out and see glass and sweet potatoes everywhere.
You just lived as far as they knew. You just went outside, slammed it on the ground, and walked away.
Ah, fuck your sweet potatoes! I'm sick of these gatherings. And like I don't, it's not like my personal family Thanksgiving. Like it's not really a thing. So I always spent Thanksgiving at a buddy's house. So it's like that's a good way to get uninvited to places, is to smash things out of spite, I guess. So yeah, so that's where I was. I'm Nash.
I'm Aaron.
And once again, welcome back to the Nash Pastime. Anything interesting happen at your Thanksgiving celebration today?
No, not anything super interesting.
You have any topical arguments, like heated discussions?
No.
Religion and politics and science?
Since my grandpa passed away, that kind of tapered down. He was usually the one that kind of sparked that conversation.
Oh! I thought everyone would just be too sad, and they're like, well, out of respect, we're not going to fight. But he was actually the one that was like, this is all because of some sensitive subject.
Damn the Jews!
If it wasn't for the Jews and the people saying the earth is round and...
No, it was never anything like that crazy. But no, it would usually just be like, he was a staunch Republican. So you're like, oh, damn liberals, blah, 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 blah. But no, it was like never any like screaming matches or anything like that.
Yeah, just those uncomfortable comments where you're like, everyone's just kind of looking around like, what? It's like
kind of like that.
One of those things where you just have to be like, I know, right? Because you like can't say anything to directly, cause a confrontation. Just like, if it wasn't for the gays, we'd all be fine. They're stealing everyone's babies, and you just have to be like,
you just kind of
I know, right? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, just shrug and make sounds and wait until they peter out. Like that's all you can do. Just like, You are saying stuff, all right, and I am acknowledging that you are saying
you said
things.
something.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
Yeah. Utterance escaped your mouth.
That's right.
I heard it through my ears. I'm acknowledging this.
Like, you know what else? No, I honestly have no idea what you're about to say.
Well, no, I look forward to Thanksgiving because my aunt is she always makes all these she makes these pies from scratch from Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And oh my god, they're so good. Makes the crust from scratch and everything.
Oh yeah, see, I don't even like pies. I'm not a pie guy. I like pie filling.
Yeah.
I don't like crusts.
I'm not like a huge. I don't eat pie. I eat pie about once a year. Thanksgiving. Yeah. But she always makes fruit pies. Like she makes usually like a cherry and an apple. And the cherry's my favorite, and I look forward to that every year because it's so good.
Like a special treat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for my buddy's Thanksgiving, everyone, this is the same guy, if you remember when we talked about the all the weird stuff that we've eaten. Mostly me, when I say we. And do you remember the story of when I was running through the guy's house and his mother's super artsy, and so she had pieces of brick cut up and stacked to look like fudge, and I just ran by and put a piece of brick in my mouth. This is a brick. So it's him. It was his family that one of the families that took me in as a streetwise youngster to make sure I didn't do too many stupid things or starve, I guess. So
after they caught you trying to eat bricks,
pilfering,
took pity on you,
pilfering from their brick stash. But yeah, so he's got like 13 siblings or something like that, and they've got kids, and some of their kids have kids, and there's like, they've married and it's a huge family. And so all the holiday gatherings are gigantic, and like half the people don't even know half the other people. Like, I'm convinced that every year just random people from the street wander in, and everyone's just like, oh, you must be the new person who married in or whatever, had a kid or something. And nobody questions it. But like, everybody brings stuff, and it's always just like meat and cheese and like rich desserts. They're like, no one ever brings any vegetables. We need some vegetables here. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna bake some nice maple glazed, expensive ass vegetables that take time and effort to do. And I'm not a chef, so I can't like alter recipes. So I just have a recipe for this, and it makes like 10 pounds of vegetables. And so I brought it, and I think it was probably like maybe a thimbleful of it got eaten. So now I have like an oil drum full of these vegetables, and I'm only gonna be here for like a day. Like, there's no way I can eat all these. So I should have just started dumping them into everyone else's food, like to get to disperse the vegetables. Like, people go to get ham, and they're like, why is there all the cauliflower and the pecans in the ham? It's like, they go to get sweet potatoes, and like, there's an awful lot of butternut squash and cauliflower in these sweet potatoes. Cut open the pie.
I like the I like the classic Thanksgiving foods, but I love me some steamed vegetables.
Yeah, quality vegetables.
Or grilled vegetables too.
Yeah, well,
all those things you listed, I like.
Yeah, you're about to get an oil drum full of vegetables. I'm gonna bring them over here in the next day, and then like through Sound Guy Bin, you will have a massive amount of vegetables. So I can't unload them off before anyone else. And got together with a buddy of mine last night. He came over and brought some booze, and we were drinking and hanging out, in the spirit of the holidays. Mm-hmm. And you know what bottle of booze he brought over? Uncle Bob's root beer flavored whiskey. And I was like, get that out of here. I don't want that here. And he's like, well, I brought some other stuff too, but I just can't get rid of this. I'm like, yeah, I know, and I don't want it. And when he left, he like hid it in my place, and I found it. And I was like, that sneaky son of a bitch. So I almost brought it over today, but I knew that none of you guys would drink it.
Well, it just needs to be that traveling gift that no one wants, and that you just secretly leave it at someone's house.
I'm probably gonna like put it in a box and wrap it up and give it to him for Christmas. Like, Merry Christmas, asshole! Here's your thing you left over at my place. Except, of course, I'll be out of the country for Christmas, so I'll have to like post it to him. So be like, haha, and he'll get like a gift in the mail and be like, oh, what is this? And it'll be that. Let's see. I wrote these notes like a long time ago because you were like sick for a while. Aaron was out of commission.
I don't know what was going on. I basically wasn't able to fall asleep until like 4 or 5 in the morning for like a week straight, and I usually have to get up for work at like 8. So I was like getting like 2 to 3 hours of sleep, and I had not all like continuous sleep. So yeah, I was feeling pretty crappy. And then all my days were getting all mixed up. I was like supposed to be going into work on Saturday and didn't realize it until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, oh shit.
That'll wear on you.
And then we were supposed to record this episode Monday.
Monday, yeah, and it's Thursday now, and we're all waiting around, and he's like, I just realized I was supposed to be there.
Shotgun
it's definitely not going to happen.
Text me, he's like, hey, you coming? I'm like, oh shit, that's today?
I can. It's just first I gotta do some other stuff, and then it's gonna be like pretty late. Like, well, that's fine. Come on over. It's just the thing is, it's gonna be so late that when I get to sleep, and then I'm gonna have to wake up after I go to sleep, and Thanksgiving. I didn't think any of us were gonna make it today. I thought something was gonna happen to like hold at least one of us up, but congratulations, we all escaped from our holiday obligations.
Yes.
So, nailed it. Let's see, what is on this list of things to talk about that I wrote so long ago? Let's see. Do you remember when I was going to go on that subterranean tube crawl under the city?
Huh.
Remember me talking about that?
The tube crawl?
Yeah, there's like a series of tunnels underneath.
Like under Indianapolis?
Yeah.
I mean, I know of tunnels under the
Right,
city.
yeah. So I was there's a guy I know that was like, we're gonna go together and spelunk through these tunnels, and but you have to go. It's got to go at least a week without raining because they flood out, and that has not happened. So I was just gonna say, well, I haven't done that yet. I was supposed to do that last weekend, and that didn't happen. Something that did happen though, I went to the hardware store for supplies because I was building a new takedown recurve bow, and so I was getting some stuff, and so I was like looking around, and then I was also running some errands, and I was like, hey, do you have some of this stuff that I'm looking for? Because the sign says it's supposed to be here, but there's none of it here. Like, do you have some in the back? And he's like, I don't know, let me check. He's like, let me ask this guy. And the guy's like, I don't know, it should be over there. He's like, well, let's wander around the store and see if we can find it. So I'm just wandering around with this guy. He's like, what we could do, just pull out your phone and use the app. It'll tell you where in the store everything is. And he's like, let me do that. So he pulls out his phone. And he's like, yeah, you just log on, and then in real time it shows how many we have and then where it's at in the store. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, so you don't even need me, just use your phone. And I was like, actually, I don't have a phone. And he was like, what? Like, this guy...
I was like, what, did it get stolen? Like,
yeah, yeah, he was like, he wasn't processing. He was like, what do you mean, like, you don't have a phone? Like a really high-speed smartwatch instead of a phone? Like, no, I don't have a phone at all. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you know how, like, you have a phone? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I don't have that.
Pretend you didn't have that.
And he's like,
that's what it's like.
He's like, oh my God. So he's like, at all. And I was like, yeah, that's right. I was like, yeah, no phone, no computer. Like, I'm just, just trying to do my archery and kick some faces. And
you have a landline phone, though, don't you?
I don't. There's a landline phone in the house that I stay at, though, yes. And so, yeah, he was like, what do you do, like, when work needs to get a hold of you? And then he's like, you do work, don't you? And I was like, well, yeah.
From time to time.
From time to time, yeah. And I was like, oh, I've got a landline at the place I'm staying at, so they can call that if they need to get a hold of me. But usually I just take a job, and then I'll do that job to completion, and then move on. So there's no reason to get a hold of me between jobs. And he's like, oh my God. And then this other employee was like walking by. I don't remember what her name actually was. Like, let's say Sheila. She's like, yo, Sheila, come over. You gotta see this guy. And
this guy don't got no phone.
Yeah. She's like, what's going on here? It's like, this guy. Just tell her what you told me. And I was like, I don't have a phone. And he's like, yeah, this guy's got no phone over here. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, like you know how we have phones? This guy's got no phone. Like, nobody can get a hold of him. It's crazy. And she was like, what? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, so what do you do, man? I was like, normal stuff. Like, I'll work a job for a little bit to get money. And then I'll go out adventuring around the world for like 6 to 12 months till I run out of money. And then I'll do it again, just normal cage fighting, martial arts, treasure hunting, writing, adventurer guy. The regular stuff. And he's like, oh my God, are you for real? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, what kind of jobs have you done? I'm like, oh, commercial Alaskan fisherman, or like bouncer, whatever, sports coach, just do whatever. And he's like, oh my God, man, you should write a book. And I was like, oh, well, actually, I have a blog. You kind of consider it like the rough draft of my book. And he's like, what? And he's like, yo, man, I gotta get a selfie with you right now. Like, this is crazy. Can't believe I met a guy who's real like you. And this guy employee and this lady employee stood and talked to me in this hardware store aisle for like an hour. Just like, and then what else do you do? Like, what happens then? Like, yeah, then they made me their chief. Then I made it out. It was awesome. So, yeah, I thought, he was just like, we need to bottle this, man. Let's just like get it out there. And I was like, that's what the blog is for. So,
and that's what this is for.
Yeah, that's what this is for. So I was like, well, we must be doing something wrong because we don't have any listeners. But face to face, though.
Advertising. That's
right.
That's what we're lacking.
Ben, media manager Ben. You're supposed to be. Look at this post-it note I left you last time. What's the status on this?
Well, this other one. That one.
Was that related to this one, or is this one just for you?
I had to do that one first.
That one was not there last time.
Did you just add the question marks on there?
It's the interrobang separated. But yeah, so that happens. Here we go. It's time for our famous news segment. You don't know anything, and nobody does. That's the title of our news segment. So here's some interesting things that happened recently-ish. Mysterious Babylonian tablet could hold math secrets. Did you hear about this?
I did not.
Well, prepare to have your minds mediumly expanded. Let's see. Looks like Mesopotamia beat the Greeks to the discovery of trigonometry by over 1,000 years. This tablet seems to indicate. And the methodology might hold secrets for modern-day mathematicians.
Interesting.
Like I'm always saying, you know, those ancient secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Their primitiveness is way more advanced than us currently. Let's see. It's a table of trigonomic ratios. So it describes triangles based on ratios instead of angles and circles. And it supposedly can facilitate more precision than modern-day trigonometry. And it's the world's oldest and completely accurate trigonomic table.
Interesting.
Trigonometric table. Yeah. Crazy!
Well, to me, it makes sense that, like, they had to have these higher level math capabilities because...
I mean, they were building triangles all over the
yeah,
place.
they were building massive structures.
Yeah, massive triangles.
You can't just kind of like, you know what? Let's just throw some shit together and hope it works.
Giant-ass bridges, they're all just happenstance.
Yeah, it wasn't all just like a massive like experiment of trial and error.
Or was it? Maybe. But then,
I mean, it could be.
But then once they got done with that, they made this chart.
Yeah.
After they trialed and errored it. So I thought that was pretty good. Mystery of 2,000-year-old Roman concrete solved by scientists.
I did actually hear about that.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
So there's ancient concrete, thousands of years old, that's actually much, much stronger and more durable than our modern concrete. And no one can figure out why. And so modern concrete is actually eroded and destroyed by the elements, like salt water and things like that. So if you build a building close to the ocean or in inclement areas, it gets destroyed by the weather. But some of these extremely old structures are going strong, super strong, and they couldn't figure out why. And it turns out this super secret ancient recipe for concrete is actually strengthened by the elements. So, like, the more the seawater gets all up in there, the stronger it becomes. It becomes stronger over time, supposedly. And supposedly this recipe was made similar to modern-day concrete, but they used seashells in it to grind up. Which, I mean, seems to make sense, right? In my mind, I guess, because seashells...
Pretty brittle.
as part of... Yeah, but also, like, you know, it's that ocean sort of a thing. Like, seashells aren't destroyed by the ocean.
Seashells don't just, like, fall apart in salt water.
Right, they just don't dissolve immediately. That would leave a lot of, like, clams and oysters and crabs in a pretty bad position.
Lots of homeless scallops.
Lots of homeless scallops. Let's see. Big secret hollow spot found in the center of Khufu's pyramid in Giza. Did you hear about that?
Heard about that one too. Yeah.
That's right. They used cosmic rays to detect the big hollow chamber in the center of the pyramid that they had never discovered priorly. So they used... I can't remember what they used. Muons, maybe? They used kind of like X-rays. So they just like filtered everything through the pyramid, and they built a like photographic receiver on the other side to pick up where these things were or were not passing through. And yeah, they found a big-ass hollow spot in the middle of the pyramid. So my thought was like, well, great. And these, like, archaeologists, these rational-minded archaeologists whose job it is to set realistic expectations and do everything slow, were like, yep, there's a very good chance that it's full of, like, treasures and stuff because it's a hidden chamber and a pyramid, like, right in the middle. And that's, you know, they're always stuffing treasures into every nook and cranny, so there's probably stuff there. So in my mind, I was like, well, obviously, we're going to have to send a guy in, probably knock out some of these walls, Go see what's kicking around in there.
The Egyptian Historical Society won't allow that.
Well, they'll allow anything if you got the money.
Well, yeah.
I mean, on paper they won't allow it, but I mean, for the betterment of science, and also if you just paid them money, they'd let you do whatever. But no, people whose job it is to be rational are going to build a tiny robot to investigate. So they're going to send a tiny robot.
I know usually their thing is to try. I mean, there's one thing with any archaeological site, like you basically
want to preserve it as much as possible.
You want to preserve it as possible, but ultimately you're destroying it by discovering it.
Yes, that is true. I mean, it's an eggs and omelet situation.
Yeah,
you just try to preserve
as best you
can.
So I know, like, they were talking about, like, trying to get maybe like fiber optics in there to at least just look and see what's in there without actually like breaking down the wall and going in.
Just gonna get a tiny robot. Tiny robot going in there.
Yeah.
I know the real reason they're sending a tiny robot, to try to avoid the curses.
The curse.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be a cursed mummy inside of that or something. But what we're going to get is sentient cursed robot. Mark my words. We're getting Egyptian mummied robots. Starring Tom Cruise and Brendan Fraser. It's the team-up movie that only I have been clamoring for.
And this will be the start of the AI uprising.
That's right. This is how it all starts. Let's see here. 91 active volcanoes discovered beneath West Antarctica. Could be the most volcanic region on Earth. Antarctica. Most volcanic region on Earth.
That's another one that, like, if you stop and think about it, makes sense.
Ish.
Like, because like Antarctica is a giant landmass.
It is a continent. Yeah, that's right. And typically land masses are forced up through the bottom of the ocean through volcanic activity. And that's my generic geology answer to everything. Like, oh my god, what an amazing land feature. How did this get here? And you're just gonna be like, the tectonic plates shifting and glaciers cutting through. It's the magma coming up, you see.
That's how most stuff gets made.
Yeah, you could say that 9 out of 10 questions you would not be wrong. Like Grand Canyon, glaciers, tectonic plate shift. Rocky Mountains, glaciers, tectonic plate shift.
So you're talking about anything. Volcanoes. There's actually an interesting thing I read that Mount Everest is the highest peak.
Right. Yes.
On Earth
above sea level.
Above sea level.
Right.
And that's the caveat.
Yes.
Above sea level.
Yeah. You start below sea level and then go up.
Yeah, it's actually in a volcano in Hawaii. That is the tallest landmass.
Right.
If you start from where it actually starts.
if you just removed all the water.
Yeah.
And started from the lowest point. Yeah.
Which I thought that was... I can't remember the name, because all the Hawaiian names are always...
Too many vowels.
Too many vowels.
Too many vowels and apostrophes.
But yeah, it's like a volcano in...
What is the apostrophe for? All the consonants you're leaving out?
Yes, that's exactly what it's for.
Put them back in.
But yeah, I thought that was neat that, Hawaii is actually home of the largest quote-unquote mountain.
Did you, speaking of mountains, we talk about this every now and again, Finn's treasure, Old Man Finn, that he hid that treasure that I've been looking at for a little bit. Not too long ago, another person died looking for it. It's valued around $2 million currently. And the cops were like, "Well, you gotta just shut this thing down. People are dying. You just call it off. It's nonsense. You're crazy." And he had a quote that said, "If someone drowns in a pool, you don't drain the pool." I like that. Yeah. So, good for you, old crazy, eccentric millionaire hiding your treasure around and just daring people to go find it. Spirit of adventure. Don't drain the pool. Because then none of us would be able to swim. Except for, in ponds and stuff. But, people who normally swim in pools wouldn't be able to swim anymore. Because you're always going to get at least one jackass who drowns in the pool. Or a child. Or something. Or whatever. So, yeah, I like that quote. Did you hear about Hobby Lobby? Do you know what Hobby Lobby is?
Yeah, I know what Hobby Lobby is.
Can you describe to the listeners what Hobby Lobby is, in case someone's listening who doesn't know?
Yeah, so Hobby Lobby is basically kind of a... think of a Home Depot, but...
Can you describe what a Home Depot is, in case they don't have that where they are?
So Home Depot is just a big hardware store.
Okay.
very big hardware store.
Can you describe what a store is in case they don't have commerce?
A store is usually a domicile.
Okay.
That person doesn't live there, but they sell goods. For currency.
I got you, like a commerce house.
Yes.
All right, and
so Hobby Lobby, it's kind of like a Home Depot, a little smaller scale, but it's geared towards basically like crafts.
Okay. Like a big craft superstore.
Yeah. Which is also their ownership is very
religious,
fundamentalist.
Yeah. Did you hear about the big to-do with Hobby Lobby not too long ago?
There was the big thing a couple, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, where they were basically not wanting to cover like contraception for employees under their like healthcare plans.
Oh, none of that crazy stuff. This is brand new crazy stuff. Hobby Lobby was fined $3 million over hundreds of thousands of smuggled Iraqi artifacts.
Oh,
yeah, they have been using their stores as a front for smuggling artifacts out of the Middle East.
Interesting.
For years. They would go to all these like bombed sites and stuff and recover all these artifacts and then box them up Indiana Jones style
and then store them in the back room of a Hobby Lobby or something.
Well, they have to get them out of the country and into this country.
Right.
Get them through customs. They were smuggling all these artifacts and just labeling them as like hobby ceramic tiles and things like that. And then everyone was like, "Oh, it's Hobby Lobby. Of course they're having tiles. Just move them through." Like they didn't open the crate and be like, "Well, this is a lot of priceless looking statues and artifacts." Like, yeah, it's just a normal, for people's bathrooms and stuff. Like, just, you know how it is. You craft people. What are you gonna do? Like, yeah. So they were just smart. I was like, holy shit! Like I could have been working on the DL for Hobby Lobby this whole time. Like just calling them up, and be like, what do you need?
That's crazy. Like that would be like one of the last places I would ever think of that would be doing something like that.
And then I was like, were they selling the artifacts?
Yeah, like that's why we're like, so okay. So
apparently not. Apparently they're so. Their cover story was that they were saving the artifacts, so that they were like getting them out of these war-torn areas to preserve them.
Okay.
Secretly in these crates that were unlisted in their warehouses that came and went a lot. So they were probably just smuggling
once they got here, where did they go?
Right. I mean, a lot of them stayed in their like giant cache of, Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse, Area 51 style. But I believe they were probably selling those, but not like in their stores next to their like kitschy framed pictures of Superman. But like
silk flowers.
yeah, they weren't selling them next to like the like how to draw deer books. And then you're like, oh, look at this Iraqi artifact, 2 for 1. Like it wasn't that. You're probably selling them on the black market. But they definitely did hoard a lot of them. But they got fined, like they smuggled hundreds of thousands of artifacts over the course of like years. And they got fined $3 million. That's nothing.
Yeah,
$3 million
that's
for an international company.
That's usually
they could just fold that into their operating costs.
All those fines work.
Yeah,
that they're never.
They're nothing
to be a detriment.
Yeah, they're not. That's nothing. But
it's like, oh, we made $100 million on our black market deals. Oh, we have to give back 3. All right.
Yeah, squaresies. We won't be doing this again. Wink. Yeah, so that's pretty good. What else? Oh, fun science fact. 50% of all wildlife on this planet was eliminated in the past 40 years.
Yep. That we are currently living in a mass extinction event.
The 6th mass extinction event, which I thought had been more than that, but it doesn't tell me what time frame they're starting the count from. What's it say? Oh yeah, we need to preserve what we can. Yeah, that's crazy. 50% of all wildlife has been destroyed in the past 40 years. On the entire Earth. That means by the time we got here, half the planet was gone.
Yeah.
And we can't even imagine what it used to be like. And the people who were alive then don't know that it's all shitty now because they have good memories from then.
Well, then there's also the other fun fact. There's more people alive today
than there's ever been in history.
Ever been with all the other people who have died.
Right, added together. Which I don't know if I believe that, because I believe that humans are significantly older.
Yes,
I think
that's assuming the popular opinion of how
the current
society
academic dogma that keeps getting pushed back. I am of the currently unproven opinion that humans have flourished and floundered several times over.
And I think that as time goes by, there's just been more and
more
evidence of that.
Yeah, just little by little drops in the bucket. What else? Oh yeah, something had happened over our sabbatical that we took. I mentioned this in my list of things that happened to me the last time that we did our episode. I just rambled off that huge list of all the stuff. My passport was seized by the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a to-do. I sent it in for renewal because I'm going on this, 7-month trek around most of the Earth, and I was getting ready to expire. So I was like, well, we'll better renew this. Don't want any hiccups.
Yeah.
Worse than I normally get. And they're like, hey, it's going to be like $100-something to renew this, or $200 or something. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Here's some money. There's my passport. So I mailed it in, and then they sent me a little letter that was like, nope, you can't have this back. And so apparently, my passport, according to them, was damaged beyond all reasonable wear. Suspiciously so. I mean, it was fine-ish. But so I had to go through all these. So they wrote me this little letter like, your passport has been declared damaged suspiciously beyond normal wear. And of course I knew that the microchips had been fried in it from China and a couple other things. And I had a feeling that was gonna be an issue. And yes, it had definitely had the shit beat out of it, both in the circuitry and just the physicality of it. But it was still like perfectly readable and stuff. Like all the main data pages were there and stuff. And so they couldn't like forge it. Like it's not like my picture page with all my details were missing or anything like that. But they were just like, yeah, this is no longer viable as a form of identification. You can't have it back, and you can't use it to get a new one, and we can't give you a new one until you can prove that you should have one. So you're gonna have to prove that you're a U.S. citizen, go through all the hoops,
basically,
but also
extra
extra hoops because I had now been marked as like a person of suspicion because this was suspicious apparently. And what else? Yeah, so basically, they sent me a little letter. I had to they were like, get all these documents together to prove that you're United States citizens first. And I was like, okay, well, how about that passport? That's like a real hard thing to get. So that's like the number one thing to prove. They're like, well, you can't use this passport because it doesn't count anymore. And I was like, all right. And they were like, how about that birth certificate? And I was like, oh yeah, it wasn't valid. It wasn't signed or anything. And they're like, yep, can't use that. Like, how about this social security number? And they're like, not used for identification, doesn't count.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. And they're like, how about a driver's license? And I was like, oh, I've got one of those. And so I'm like, how about this driver's license? And they're like, there's no address on here. You can't use this.
You don't have an address at all?
No, it's because it's an Alaskan license.
Oh,
and
okay.
lots of in the outskirts of Alaska, hardly anyone has an actual address. You're either going from bridge to bridge and tree to tree, or you're living on a boat or whatever. It's super common. And so they're just like, you can't use this. There's no address on here. And I was like, right.
But how does someone then that is an Alaskan citizen get a passport? I mean, what if they're in the same situation and they don't have the birth? I mean, that seems kind of messed up.
You just have to jump through a shit ton of hoops, like I did. Spoiler alert. Well, we'll get there. But anyway, so I'm like, how about this? And they're like, no. And they're like, oh, what about it's really hard to prove that you're not some shady smuggler.
Yeah.
That's not a citizen of the country you're in, when you might be all those things. So this is just like, wait a minute. Yeah, they're like, how about some bills with your name on it to prove that you actually live here and are a functional citizen. Like, oh yeah, I don't have any bills. I don't have anything with my name on it. And it's just phone. I'm like, I don't have a phone or bills. I don't have anything with my name. And so we went round and round. And then I remembered. So I had all this stuff that was like almost good enough. So I have the driver's license. It's not, I can't use that because it's got no address. But it's like, it's a thing if I could get like a pile of things. I had to build a dossier on myself. And like, how about this birth certificate? Like, that's not good. But like, it's just, it's like instead of being viable, it's like a little bit
half
Yeah.
good documents.
Yeah.
That if you take them all together.
How about a pile of extremely shady documents? Like, what if I just send you a bag of cash and a rhino's horn? No questions asked. Can I have a passport, please? They're like, sir, you are making yourself look worse and worse. I'm like, what organ is it going to take for me to get a passport? I'll get you whatever you need.
Kidney?
Yeah.
Lung?
What are we talking here? It's not going to be super fresh. Might not fit right, but it'll work. But, yeah, and then I remembered I was working that job. I had checks payable to me with an address and my name on it. So I could use that to prove that I was working, to prove that I was here with my name on it and had a address. So I managed to, that was the first solid piece of the puzzle. And then using that company, I was able to leverage that I'd been here and, put it all together. So then I sent them the dossier on me, and they sent me a letter to go give to a passport interview agent where I had to go and, deal with them to give them this letter. They're like, give this letter to them, and, that'll be the next step. I'm like, oh, great. So I go have this interview, a passport official, which is barely one step above the normal people at a post office. And so I go there. I'm like, hey, what do you need? I'm like, oh yeah, get the passport thing. They're like, oh yeah, you need a passport? And I was like, yes, I do. And they're like, oh, you ever had one? And I was like, sort of. And they're like, wait, why are you here? And I'm like, well, I had a passport, and then I sent it in, and then they took it. And so I'm here to talk to you about that. And they're like, wait, you mean you're here to renew a passport? And I was like, oh, no, it was seized. And they wrote me a little letter.
Saying I need to come talk to
yeah,
you.
I'm supposed to see you. And the guy was like, I have never heard of this. And I was like, don't tell me that. You are not building me confidence at all. And so it's just they gave you a letter. I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to give this to you. It tells you what to do to me. And they're like, let me read this. I have no idea what's going on. Let me just read this thing, and then I'll figure out what to do with you. I'm like, all right. So then I had to stand there while this person, learned what to do with me via this letter. And so we had a little interview, and then filled out a bunch more paperwork and sent all my shit in. Also, when they sent me the little letter back, initially, they was like, hey, we've seized your passport. They were like, BT dubs, we're keeping all your money that you gave us for renewing the passport. And they were like, in the event that we find you eligible to receive a passport, we can apply that towards your new passport cost. So it's it was like I was applying for a passport for the first time, but that I was also labeled a person of suspicion, so I had to jump through all these other hoops. And then I had to write them a letter explaining why my passport was in the condition that it was in. And I definitely couldn't tell them the truth. Not the whole truth.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell them all the facts in sequential order. I did tell them the truth, but there were selective things removed. I couldn't be like, I was in China and they thought I was making bombs. So they took my passport and fried the microchip. And when I was in the Philippines, they kept checking me in more times than they checked me out. So I'm technically there as a Filipino citizen, even though I'm physically here. And I had to escape Thailand because I was there super illegally. They talked my way out of the brig, but then I got thrown into one in Japan anyway because thought I had heroin. I didn't have that heroin. But anyway, I didn't write him that. I was just like, dear passport people, to whom it may concern, my passport was in pretty bad shape because, I just do a lot of
hiking.
Hiking and backpacking and stuff, and mountain climbing and whatever. I do some rough jobs, do some wilderness construction sometimes, and Alaska fishing. And sometimes you got the passport on you, and you'll fall in the sea or fall down a mountain or whatever. 10 years takes its toll on a thing. So anyway, definitely not a criminal. Love, for sure a citizen of your country. This guy, P.S., please give me a passport. So I had to send that off to him. And all of that stuff, the interview, the dossier, the dumb letter, everything, more money, I did eventually get a passport. But it was a huge, drawn-out process. And then, when they finally sent me the passport, and the very back, and they also sent me like a new letter. They're like, hey, we've issued you this passport. But in the back of this passport, you will find that there is a special page detailing that this is a replacement for a passport that was suspiciously damaged beyond all repair. But don't worry, this won't affect you in any way. Like, well, then why did you put it in here? It's clearly going to be a huge deal. Like, I already have a big problem getting across borders. Now they're going to flip through and be like, what's this about? I gotta be like, I don't know, right? Who knows? That's what they all look like, I hear. Now, this is the new ones that they're issuing. Yeah, it's some code. Who knows? Anyway, it's just passing through. Bye. Like, it's gonna be a big deal. Then I had to use that to get my visa for India, and they're real snoopy. Like, they really have to know a lot of stuff for your visa in India. They were like, well, like, give me all the information on your parents. Like, where were they born? How old are they? Where are they from? What do they do? Their occupations. I don't know any of that stuff. And they're like, how about that birth certificate? Like, also not valid. But it turns out they don't really give a shit about anything. They're just concerned about whether or not you have ties to Pakistan. And if you don't, they're like, all right, you're good. That's really what it all boils down to. But it's just pages and pages of paperwork to see if you have any link to anywhere in the Middle East. Which, you know, outside of Hobby Lobby, no link. So I was able to circumnavigate that. So hopefully, I mean, they did send me my visa, but I've never field tested this new passport. So, I mean, my old one was like stuffed to the gills with like visas and documents and everything. This one makes me look like a total noob. Like, the old one vouched for me, so if something looked suspicious, I could be like, oh no, I'm a frequent traveler. Look at all the things and places I do.
Look at all my stamps.
Yeah, why would I possibly do something bad to sacrifice this? I'm clearly a good guy, or I wouldn't have been in all of these places suspiciously. But now I'm just like, don't mind me, completely blank passport with suspicious notes in the back. It's no big deal. Just going to India, which has recently been declared a state of medical emergency in Delhi. Did we talk about that yet?
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so right after I got my Indian visa, got my plane ticket. Oh yeah, so my plane ticket. Is that for the next episode we're going to record? It is. Whatever. Got my plane ticket. And yeah, it was declared a state of medical emergency, but we can talk about that on our next episode. Short version, because the long one's coming in a moment. Going to Abu Dhabi for a day, then India for a few weeks, and Nepal for a couple weeks. One of those weeks is like plus or minus on the other side. And then I circle back around and fly back here for a gear change. Then it's off to South America for a few months. Gonna climb that second highest mountain in the world. Well, the highest mountain outside of the Himalayan range. Because there's like, 15 mountains that like stick out of Everest.
Yeah.
That are also like, we're also the top 15 highest mountain. You're like, you're all the same mountain as far as I'm concerned. Get out of here. We're hogging the spotlight. So this is the highest mountain outside of the Himalayan range. Gonna do that, and then if I'm successful, then I will circumnavigate South America, go down to the southern tip of Chile, run some recon on chartering a ship to Antarctica, circle back up through Brazil, try not to get shot and stabbed while I'm there, and then circle back around to like Colombia or whatever and leave, and then come back for a gear change and go to Japan for the summer. So, regular stuff. Regular, just talking to a hardware store guy about my regular life stuff. Yes, sound guy Ben.
So
media manager Ben.
I mean, since we're got an open floor here.
Yeah.
You mentioned building a recurve bow.
Yes.
I've been looking into
a takedown recurve bow. Yeah.
I've been looking into purchasing a takedown recurve bow myself, but like, I mean, they're like, the one I was looking at is like $90.
Right.
Would it be like more financially affordable to actually build one?
Oh yeah, so much. You can build. How good's your archery? Like, do you practice often?
No, I wanted to like start.
Where would you practice?
Probably in like the woods somewhere. I don't know.
I mean, do you have like
go somewhere not shady and where people won't,
right.
bother me?
Okay. Well, if that's the case and you're just getting into it, yeah, you can build like a very decent takedown recurve bow for like $10.
What do you use? How do you do it?
Different grades of PVC pipe and heat gun, and there's several tutorials on YouTube. You would be surprised. You can make a super high quality polyvinyl chloride composite takedown recurve bow with some. I'm trying to think of the type of string that I use. But yeah, basically you take the different grades of PVC pipe and you heat them up using a heat gun, and then you mold them flat-ish with a grade, and then you take a middle stock piece, heat it up, fit everything together, but make sure that it doesn't collapse or anything, and then you just string it, and it's good. I've field tested mine. I've got 3 recurve bows. One of them is the one I built myself. The other 2 aren't takedown. They're solid state recurve bows. One's wood, and the other one's like a plastic composite. And all 3 of them are pretty good.
So when you say takedown, you mean like collapsible?
Yeah. So you've got your limbs. You've got your limbs that make the bow. And you've got like your center stock piece. You just pull it out of the center, and then it takes up about more than a third, but less than half of its full length, so you can put it into places. The only downside to building it out of PVC is if you store it in a vehicle and it gets super duper 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 hot, it can deform. But I mean, it's fully functional, like as an end of days tool. Very good. Like once you get good, I actually built 2 takedown recurve bows because I messed the first one up. I didn't mess it up. I built it, and I was like, I could make it better. So, like, how, like, if you have a thing and you keep folding it back and forth, eventually it will become structurally weak. For example, a spoon. If you get a spoon and you bend it, like, a spoon is pretty strong, like a metal spoon. If you bend it, then it's bent. So you bend it back, and then it's, like, slightly weak. But if you bend it even further backwards, then it's bent again, so you bend it back forward. If you keep doing that, it'll just snap in half. So I had this takedown recurve bow I built out of PVC pipe, and it was good, but it wasn't great. So I kept heating it up and like molding it in slightly different ways, and I was like, no, this is a little bit worse. I'll just heat it up and move it back. And then I moved it back, and I was like, I can make it better. Like, I moved it too forward in that one direction. And I just did that for a long time, and then eventually just snapped the whole thing in half. But then the second one I built much better. Much better. So yeah, you will need a heat gun, but I've got one if you ever want to borrow it.
If you didn't have one of those, what would that cost? Like $20 probably?
Like $25. Yeah, so the, let's see, you get 1 long PVC for the limbs that you have to cut in half. That's about $3 or $4. And then you'll need your base, like your, shit, I can't remember what it's called. Whatever, the thing that the limbs go into, your stock or whatever. That you'll have to cut. That's another like $3 or $4, and that's really everything besides the string and the heat gun. Then you're done.
Do you make your own arrows, or do you just buy like arrows?
I already have a bunch of arrows,
Okay.
which, by the way, make sure you're clear for some distance when you're shooting at something. Like, and then behind that thing you're shooting at, because if you get a real good one, it'll just keep going. Like right through. So make sure at the opposite end of the woods that you're in, there's not like some child's playground or something, because you're looking at a bad news otherwise. But yeah, I've got a giant archery target at the back of my place that I set up. I used a bunch of old pallets from different like construction things, and then I wrapped that in an old pool cover that's like super thick. And then I lashed that together and then propped it up with some metal chairs against the back of a garage. And I've got like quite a long draw distance. So it works out. Every once in a while I'll get a stray one though, because I'm still technically in a neighborhood. And like if it arcs just right, I'm like, whoop, just killed somebody. Time to go inside. Not getting that arrow back. Time to destroy all these other matching arrows so that they can't find me.
Saying that's one thing I just thought would be a difficult part of archery would be making your own arrows.
Yeah, I've made some arrows, but I haven't like practiced it enough to be like
I mean, that was
reliable at it.
It was a thing. Like that was like a whole profession.
Yeah.
Like, you know, fletchers.
Yeah.
Like that's what they did. They made arrows because like it's a skill.
I've fletched my own arrows, but it's cheating now because you can just go to the store and get fletching for your arrows.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, is like the feathers or synthetic air guides that go on the
little
back.
fins.
Yeah, fins. There
make
you
it
go.
fly straight.
That's right. Yeah, it is less bueno when you start missing one or two of those, because then it just goes. It's not as bad, but I mean, you know, it's not super accurate either. But yeah, good question. Good question. We should work on that. We could take a field trip and shoot some stuff. Yeah. Oh, also you're gonna need a wrist guard, like a forearm guard.
I really do need one of those.
Have you ever done archery before?
No, I mean, I saw videos of people using that, but I just thought, like...
it is not for decoration.
It's
not
for
decoration.
The string, man, it's going to be slapping that wrist and ripping skin off when it goes by.
If you get it just right, if you shoot it just right, because sometimes the string just goes, you know, fore and aft, and you don't have to worry about it. But sometimes stuff whips around, and that string will whip around and slap you in the forearm, and it'll slap to the bone, like... It hurts. Well, it might not hurt right away, but like a couple seconds later, you'd be like, I don't remember having this huge elbow in the middle of my forearm. That's all black. That's new. That's a new thing. And you definitely just can't keep whipping on that. So you need, I recommend, and like a shirt's not going to cut it. I mean, you need like a reinforced thing, like a even back in the day, they would just use like a piece of leather.
Yeah, it'd just be like kind of like a leather cuff.
Yeah,
almost.
It wasn't really good enough. Like you needed really thick leather. They would like really layer those on there. So
I know they make ones now where basically there's kind of like a metal.
That's what
like bar.
That's what mine is. Yeah, it's a triple composite bar that like runs down here, and it's got like quick release buckles and stuff. It's pretty cool. Every time I put it on, I feel like a combination of Hawkeye and someone who broke their arm. Because you can't really like move your arm very freely when you're wearing it. So it's just like, yeah! But also, oh. It's both of those. But yeah, it's definitely a fun thing to get into. So highly, highly recommend it. It's very zen when you get into it. But it's just like, just letting them go. Just letting them go. It's a good stress reliever too. Then if you don't have that arm guard, you're just like, this is adding to the stress. This isn't helping at all.
I'm glad I didn't just like buy that one then, because I wouldn't have gotten the arm guard.
You would have, just not right away.
Yeah.
You would have. After the first day, you'd have been like, time to get that arm guard. Yeah. But yeah, not bad. I mean, I'm always in the market for like whatever. Sometimes I go to garage sales and stuff, and I'm like, do I need another recurve bow? Like, I have 3. No. I'll look at it, and if it looks better than the ones I have, and it's, like, you know, like $1 or something, like someone's just trying to get rid of their shit, I'm like, yay! But usually not. I also have some old arrows you can have if you want to refletch them and retip them. Because I just can't be bothered. The basically wooden tubes, like wooden sticks, like they're just...
We just discussed how this is a skill.
I have, like, 2 or 3 quivers. I have like my like high speed arrows with like interchangeable tips and everything, and then I have just like good wooden arrows like that just as is, and then I have like busted, no fletching, no tip, but good shaft. Like you can have those. I give you a sack of shafts, and you can do with them as you see fit. You can have my shaft sack. All right, well, that's it for this episode of the National Pastime. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I'm Nash.
I'm Aaron.
Nash out. Panache.
Panache.